Oh man, what horrible news to wake up to, you know? Um, I got out of bed, I checked my phone, I scrolled through. I saw one posting, I thought Hulk Hogan has died. I thought, great, please let this be a storyline, please let this be a rumor. And then I went to several news organizations reporting it, and unfortunately I realized at that point that it was definitely true, and I just fell back in my bed today, just kind of just disillusioned and shocked, and it was just it knocked all the wind out of me, that's for sure. And so I just, well, it was my day off, so I went out for a bit and I exercised, and it was something that just played on my mind, when I went for an exercise in the swim today, and it was just, the memories were flowing through me a mile a minute, and it was just mixed emotions. And look, there's going to be a lot of unpopular opinions and takes on this video, but look, it's important to remember Hulk Hogan, Terry Bollea, for who he was. I'm not speaking ill will of him. I'm not trashing him as a person. I'm just, speaking up for him as the individual. I'm not kicking him when he's down. I'm not attacking a man that can't defend himself. It's important to remember these people for who they were. You know, it's just, my memories were, going back to 1991 when I first started really watching and becoming a fan of wrestling. It was largely because of Hulk Hogan. It was largely, there's no doubt about it, But now, some of the criticisms I can understand. Some of the criticisms I can agree with. I mean, yes, he definitely had too much power in the business. He had too much pull in the business. I think a lot of us can agree on that. But unfortunately, you have to realize that is the nature of the business. He played in that arena. He played on that field, and in that arena and in that field, to do everything necessary you can you can do everything you can do necessary to win, and to make yourself look good as well. Wrestling and politics go hand in hand. That's just the way it is. Whoever has the best decision, whoever has the best outcome, always wins. Always gets their way in the end. That's just how it is. Hulk Hogan did it. Austin did it. Bret Hart did it. Triple H did it. Shawn Michaels. They wouldn't be where they were, because you have to realize it's just. Nice guys finish last. Wrestling's just not a business for nice people. Okay. Look at the people in charge of wrestling right now. They're not the nicest people. Okay. Vince McMahon was not a nice man. Okay. But that's what you have to be. Unfortunately, that's wrestling. And it's no different than actual sport. Look, a lot of people know this. For a lot of people who don't know, you have to consider the fact that even some of the greatest of all time are not very good people behind the scenes. The greatest basketball player of all time, Michael Jordan, is not a very nice guy behind the scenes. Scottie Pippen wasn't a very good guy behind the scenes either. It's just the way it is. You don't have to like it. You don't have to agree with it, but that's the way it is. Other examples. Leave out the fact that I can't stand Marc Messier as a hockey player, as a person. He is one of the greatest of all time, but he was not a very good guy behind the scenes either. So, again, I'm not saying it's right. I'm not saying it's okay. But that's the nature of the business. That's the way it is, whether you like it or not. And before you criticize anybody, you have to think, well, what have you done in your life? I was not an angel growing up. I was no saint growing up. I wasn't perfect, And I'm not, that's, I've done things in business to get ahead, some unpleasant things as well. I'm sure many of us have. Because, wrestling does reflect on real life. It does. That's the beauty of it. That's one of the main reasons why a lot of us watch it, The parallels between wrestling and real life are dead on and right on point, Long-time wrestling fans can agree on that, so. And yeah, there was the controversy with the racist comments he made, and, I was mad, I was upset, sorely disappointed with him. He should have known better than to say that, but look, we've all said things, we've all done things we shouldn't have, and when you're, and whether you, forgive him or not, hey, that's your take as well. And however you look at it, whatever you say, I'm ready for anything. However you feel about Hulk Hogan or how you feel about him as a person, that's totally understandable and totally justifiable. I'm not, so. But now let's talk about the good. Look, we cannot deny, okay? It was just right place, right time. What WWE and Hulk Hogan did back in the 80s and early 90s will never be duplicated. We will never see anything like that again, You cannot deny wrestling would not be what it is today if not for those two, especially with Hulk Hogan. There's no way. I don't think we'd be talking about wrestling right now. It would just be an afterthought. It would just be another a program on TV. I mean, going back to his glory days. I mean, you go back to WrestleMania 1, almost over 40 years ago now. That put wrestling on the map. It changed the direction of wrestling, and it made it, one of the most watched, most views, the most televised, views programs on TV. I mean, you can't take that away from him. Nobody can, And then you go back to, look what he did for WWE during his run. I remember back in 1991, that's when I started getting into WWE, when he won that Royal Rumble back in 91. And I was a fan right after that, and I've been a fan ever since. I've been a fan of wrestling, and largely because of Hulk Hogan, that's one of the reasons why I watched, And I'm not going to say what's already been said about his incredible run. We already know that. We all know, all you got to do is watch the tapes and you'll see what I mean, And then when he left WWE back in 93, it was tough. I mean, even though he did a lot of, house shows during that time, it was sad to see him go. But when he came to WCW in 94, that was shocking. That was something that I, never saw coming. I thought we would never see him in a wrestling ring again, but hey, And this was after the steroid scandal, which we all know really put a dark cloud over the wrestling industry as a whole and really hurt the industry for a period of time after that, But wrestling has always been resilient. It's always found a way to come back. And when wrestling was in the gutter when he was, back in 96, he did help bring it back with the introduction of the NWO, the New World Order storyline. When he turned heel, that will forever be a defining moment. That will forever be one of the greatest moments in wrestling history. That will. And again, it made wrestling bigger than it had ever been from 96 to 2001. You cannot deny those were the golden years. And he was a large part of that. So up until, and then, but unfortunately, yeah, I'm not going back to what I said. I felt like, he did have too much power and he had too much pull, and largely that's one of the reasons why WCW went out of business. Don't forget, although granted, though, AOL and Time Warner didn't really help much matters either, but I don't want to get too much into that. Let's remember him for who he was. Let's remember what he did for us, what he did for myself personally, growing up in a ghetto, growing up in Fernwood area, growing up in an area like I was in Victoria, BC, where I'm living right now. He introduced me to a lot of really cool people. I mean, and I'm thankful for all the memories and great times and, just so many great matches for so many years. I often rewatch a lot of his matches, the Hogan versus the Ultimate Warrior at WrestleMania 6, his Royal Rumble wins, his days as the NWO, with the NWO. Those are days that I will never forget and will stay with me forever, and again, no one's perfect, but he without sin cast the first stone, okay? So in closing, I just want to say, however you feel, that's totally understandable, but me, it's mixed emotions, I mean, yeah, on one hand, it's just because I'm remembering the good and the bad, and it's important to do so in a situation like this, so all I can say is rest in peace, Hulk Hogan. Rest in peace, Terry Bollea. My thoughts go out to his family. And if you have any memories of Hulk Hogan, please comment down below. I must admit, I'm not very good at doing these tributes, but this is just something I wanted to say. So, hey, if you have any good memories, what are your favorite moments? Just please comment down below. One of my favorite memories was I was working out today, but my favorite memory probably had to be at WrestleMania 19 in Seattle at Safeco Field. I was there for Hogan versus McMahon. I gotta say, man, I've never felt excitement like I felt there. My inner child came out in that match, and holy moly, I was jumping up and down for joy. I was 19 years old at that time, and I was wearing a Hulk Hogan shirt similar to this one, and I just remember my adrenaline was out of control. And when the match finally ended, when Hogan won the match, I fell back in my chair just in relief, I had to catch my breath, obviously, but holy moly, just being there live, being at a WrestleMania, that was my only WrestleMania that I've ever been to as well. So, and I gotta say, that was probably my favorite memory of Hulk Hogan back in the day. Being there live, it was a dream come true, and it's something I will never forget. So please, comment down below, what were your favorite memories? And it's been a brutal week, that's for sure. You know, first Ozzy, then Malcolm from Cosby Show, and now this. So, all right, everybody, take care. Rest in peace, Hulk Hogan. He may be gone physically, but Hulkamania will live forever. His impact will be eternal, you know? And we will never forget him, and he will never be forgotten. Take care. Good day, everyone. Peace.